Chevrolet built the Corvair for 2 generations from model years 1960 to 1969 in response to the Volkswagen Beetle. The Chevy Corvair was a vehicle that was already decades ahead of its time in a number of ways. It still has a stunning appearance and has superior handling to almost all of its contemporaries. In this video, we will talk about 8 reasons why gearheads should consider Chevy Corvair and 2 reasons to stay away from it. First off, Chevy Corvair was way ahead of its time. The Corvair's monocoque design and independent suspension, which was practically unheard of in the US with its obsession with body-on-frame, front-engine rear-drive sedans, were what made it revolutionary. One of Chevrolet's first really global vehicles was this one. On top of being produced all around the world, it also had a body shape for just about every market niche. Although most people only know the Corvair as a sleek 2-door coupe, it also came as 4-door sedans, wagons, vans, and even a pickup truck. Coming up is our second reason, a sleek 2-door coupe, the stylish Chevy Corvair Monza. This is what a Corvair is to the majority of gearheads, the 2-door Monza. It made up a significant share of sales and was an upscale version of the standard sedan. Although decent at the time, the early model's 80 horsepower wasn't enough to make these sports cars. Even if the 95 horsepower option was added, the emphasis has always been more on being unique than on being quick. The extremely rare 150 horsepower turbocharged Monza Spyder version is likely the first American manufacturing vehicle to have a turbine. Just imagine a sleek 2-door coupe with a flat 6 turbocharged engine situated in the back that is air-cooled, something Porsche only offered a good decade later. The second generation Corvair, 1965 to 1969, in the opinion of Chevrolet enthusiasts, is one of the company's most underappreciated production vehicles. Since it is one of the greatest entry-level options among historic automobiles, the Corvair is currently experiencing something of a boom in the United States. Up next, the Chevy Corvair is the gorgeous wagon. This would have been considered more of a people carrier at the time, but given how tastes in cars have changed, it may now be the most coveted model. It resembled the Volkswagen Type 3 Squareback in terms of design and mechanical aspects, but the Corvair's rear-mounted Chevrolet Turbo Air 6 engine with 146 cubic inches provided the vehicle's power. The wagon, which was also produced for 2 model years, is the least popular Corvair body style, making up less than 2% of the car's 10-year production lifespan. 33,271 is the total number of Corvair wagons produced over the course of 3 series, which is fewer than the number of 700 series sedans produced in 1962 alone. Even though it's somewhat uncommon, there is no doubt the additional cost might be justified for something this attractive. Let's look at the fourth reason, the turbocharged Spyder. Although it wasn't the first of its kind, that distinction belongs to an Oldsmobile with a turbocharger. It was nevertheless a novel addition to their model portfolio. It produced 150 horsepower, which was a lot, possibly too much for a car with drum brakes in the early 1960s. It was also the first rear-engined American car of its era, and the second production car to offer a turbocharger as a factory option. The Spyder was produced through 1964, with sales of 6,894 Spyder coupes and 2,574 Spyder convertibles in total for 1962. Its distinctive accent line, which round the body of the car, became known as the Corvair line. The body is divided into upper and lower halves by this design element, which was later borrowed by European automakers like BMW. The Monza Spyder's sales data tended to show that consumers were purchasing Corvairs in order to get themselves an American Porsche. Coming up next is the eternal underdog. When it first debuted, it already faced competition from cheaper compact automobiles and more powerful vehicles overall than the Beetle. Despite the challenges it faced, it managed to sell in enormous quantities. The automobiles sold well because consumers found them to be useful, entertaining, and reasonably economical when compared to the competition. Now for the sixth reason. It's an affordable classic. Let's face it, the majority of people cannot afford the majority of old cars. Despite recent price increases, second-generation Corvairs are still quite inexpensive when compared to other cars from the time, which in fairness appeal to a broader audience of buyers. In 2015, the NAD NADA value of a 1965 Monza Coupe in fair condition without a high-performance engine was $6,250. Today, the same vehicle is worth $7,700. Moving on to the 1967 model year, a comparable Monza Coupe had a 2015 NADA value of $6,025, compared to a 2017 value of $7,400. When comparing the final year models from 1967, a Monza Coupe had a 2015 NADA value of $6,600 versus a 2019 value of $8,100. You only need to look a little to find a project car on your doorstep, because the great majority are currently rotting away in people's backyards. Similar to the Beetle, they produced approximately 2 million of these vehicles, so spare parts can still be found all around. You can locate a Corvair club in just about any major city that will assist you if you have any questions. Because a lot of them were made, they're affordable, they look nice, and fans have learned how to maintain and repair them. The seventh reason would be its innovative engineering. The oldest Chevrolet car ever introduced, the Corvair, debuted in 1960. It didn't look very noteworthy from the outside, but it underwent a true revolution within. GM made the decision to place the engine in the back after being inspired by the Beetle's popularity. Additionally, the horizontally opposed 6-engine was air-cooled. It was nothing new to put an air-cooled engine at the back of a car. In actuality, it was the time-tested production process for the most popular compact automobile. The Corvair's 6-cylinder engine was made of aluminum and was horizontally opposed, flat. Chevrolet placed it behind the back axle, which is even more peculiar. It featured a body chassis made of one piece and 4 wheels with independent coil spring suspension. Chevrolet, though, didn't stop there. It would develop production car turbocharging earlier than Volkswagen or any other manufacturer, together with Oldsmobile. The engine's exhaust flow powers a small gas turbine known as a turbocharger, which spins an air compressor to cram more air into the cylinders when the engine would normally breathe. Because more air and fuel are put in, more power is produced as exhaust, producing free horsepower. Hence, the innovation in this car is what makes it remarkable. It definitely deserves to be considered, as it was a trendsetter back in the 60s. Coming to the eighth reason, Corvair crossed the Darien Gap. In a unique display of over-enthusiasm, GM managed to approve a trip across the notorious Darien Gap, a section of jungle that only a select few highly customized off-road vehicles have been able to traverse. 2 of the 3 automobiles they brought actually made it through, but one was abandoned and has been rotting in the bush for decades, perplexing explorers of all kinds. If anything, it demonstrated some kind of supremacy, but if anything, it showed that any vehicle can travel anywhere if you have the resources and will to do so. We are also unsure of the value of their promotion video, given that sales at the time were already quite strong. Now let's talk about the 2 reasons why it's best avoided. First off, the book published by Ralph Nader in 1965 was titled Not Safe at Any Speed. Ralph Nader's book, Unsafe at Any Speed, which essentially singled out the Corvair as an extremely risky vehicle, was published in 1965. Unfortunately, he ended up demonizing the Corvair, and most people didn't get the point, or at least, they didn't get the point he was trying to make, which was to encourage the entire automobile industry to raise safety standards. Nader claimed that American automakers had little interest in ensuring the safety of their vehicles. The Corvair was utilized as a sort of case study, and the main lesson for readers was don't purchase this car, even though it wasn't any riskier than any other car being sold at the time. Prior to the book's publication, the suspension's primary flaw was also fixed, negating the majority of his arguments for the second-generation Corvair. According to a 1972 study, the Corvair actually handled no worse than the competition at the time. For some reason, Ralph Nader also forgot to mention the other vehicles that had the identical swing axle rear suspension in his book. Finally, the second reason is its limited potential. Even the 150 horsepower Spyder has ultimately far too much power for its own good. These vehicles weren't made to move quickly. Fires caused by Chevy Corvairs claimed several lives. Because of this, the car's manufacturer, GM, tried for a very long time to change things so that the engines wouldn't catch fire, but they were never successful. unprofitable. The vehicle was eventually removed from the market in 1969. Forget about the possibility of making money from an investment. These are at best classic cruisers with antiquated equipment. That's a wrap for this video. What are your thoughts on the Chevy Corvair? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.